All right, let's jump right in. Ever wonder how a dire climate report, a military drill in Hanoi, a fancy book prize, and a plan to get rid of dump sites are all connected? Well, stick around, because today we're going to connect those dots. So here's our roadmap for today. We're kicking things off with the big picture view of our planet's climate. Then we'll see how nations are actually working together. After that, we'll celebrate some big wins and achievements, meet a few people in the news, and we'll wrap it all up with a look at the huge projects shaping India's future. Okay, first up, our planet's changing climate. We're diving into the massive environmental pressures our world is up against, from long-term risks to some very immediate health warnings. You gotta ask, right? Just how vulnerable are we to all this crazy weather? It's a question that feels more real every single year. A recent report gives us some pretty eye-opening answers, so let's dig in. Okay, so this table really puts things into perspective. This is the Global Climate Risk Index from Germanwatch. And here's the key thing to remember. The lower the rank, the higher the risk. So you can see countries like Dominica, Myanmar, and Honduras are right at the top. They're facing the absolute worst of it. And right there, you see India, sitting at number 9. Now, that's a slight improvement from 8th last year, but it's still firmly in the top 10 most vulnerable nations in the world. That's a big deal. And if you want to talk about the cost of all this, wow. Just look at these numbers from the last 30 years. Globally, we're talking nearly 10,000 extreme weather events. That's led to about 832,000 deaths. And the economic damage? A mind-boggling $4.5 trillion. Now let's zoom in on India. That's 430 major disasters impacting 1.3 billion people. That's basically everyone. And the price tag for India alone? $170 billion. These numbers are just staggering. These environmental pressures don't just happen in a vacuum. They often spill over into health crises. A perfect example is the World Health Organization's new warning for Mauritania and Senegal about something called Rift Valley fever. It's a virus that usually affects animals, but can jump to humans, often through mosquito bites. It's a really stark reminder of just how deeply our own health is connected to the health of our environment. So, with all these huge global challenges, what's being done about it? How are nations getting together to respond? Well, that brings us right to our next section, cooperation on the world stage. Let's talk diplomacy. The G7 foreign ministers recently got together in Canada, and India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar was there. And yeah, the main agenda was trade and cooperation, but one of the most interesting things to come out of it was a big push on the India-UK Vision 2035. That's all about working together on really crucial stuff like technology and education. And hey, cooperation isn't just about handshakes and meetings. It's also about what's happening on the ground. Right now in Hanoi, the 6th VinBax military exercise is happening. This is a joint drill between India and Vietnam, and it's all about making sure their armies can work together effectively, which is a really big deal for strengthening their partnership in the region. All right, let's switch gears completely. From military exercises to celebrating some amazing achievements. Next up, awards, prizes, and progress. Okay, first things first, let's quickly clear something up that confuses a lot of people. The Booker Prize versus the International Booker Prize. What's the difference? It's actually super simple. The main Booker Prize is for a novel written originally in English. The International Booker is for a great novel that's been translated into English. And here's a really cool part. For the International Prize, the prize money gets split between the author and the translator. For both awards, the book has to be published in the UK or Ireland. Simple as that. So, now that we've got that straight, on to the big news. The winner of the 2025 Booker Prize is David Szalay. He's a Hungarian-British author, and he won for his novel Flesh. This is a pretty historic win, actually, because he's the first ever Hungarian-born author to take home the Booker. The story follows the life and struggles of a Hungarian man. And speaking of awards, let's bring it back home for the 6th National Water Awards. This is all about celebrating the best work being done in water conservation. And in the best state category, taking the gold medal is Maharashtra. In second place, we've got Gujarat, and coming in third is Haryana. It's honestly just great to see this kind of vital work getting recognized. All right, now let's zoom in a little bit and look at some of the people making headlines. And as you're about to see, it's for very, very different reasons. Over in Ireland, it's a big moment. Catherine Martina Connolly has officially been sworn in as the country's 10th president. And this is pretty significant because she's only the 3rd woman ever to hold that high office in the nation's history.
Now for a story about an Indian athlete, hammer thrower Manju Bala. She had this incredible career highlight, winning a bronze medal at the 2024 Asian Games. I mean, what a huge achievement, a real moment of national pride. But this is where the story takes a really sharp and unfortunate turn. So, doping, as we know, is using banned substances to get an unfair advantage. And in what has to be just a devastating development, India's National Anti-Doping Agency has handed Manju Bala a 5-year ban for a doping violation. I mean, talk about a dramatic fall from grace. Just, wow.
Okay, for our final section today, let's look ahead. We're going to dive into some of the huge national programs in India that are all about building for the future. This timeline really tells a story, doesn't it? It kicked off way back in 2014 with the Swachh Bharat mission, the Clean India mission. Then in 2021, we got version 2.0, which focused more on cities. And that brings us to today, 2025, and the launch of the new DRAP program. Its goal is crystal clear: speed up the cleanup of dump sites. The target is incredibly ambitious: to make India a zero dump site nation by 2026. That's next year. And speaking of the future, let's talk about a sector with some serious momentum: biotechnology. The Biotechnology Research and Innovation Council, or BRIC, is celebrating its second anniversary, and even though it was only founded 2 years ago, it's already making some huge moves. To mark the occasion, they've just announced a massive new 200-acre bio-innovation park for Faridabad. So why does a big new park matter so much? Well, it's directly tied to this absolutely massive national goal. India wants to grow its bioeconomy to $300 billion by the year 2030. It's a clear signal that this is where the country sees a huge part of its future economic growth. So there you have it. We've gone from the existential threat of climate change to the complexities of global politics to individual triumphs and tragedies, all the way to the foundations being laid for the future. It kind of leaves you with one big question, right? Of all the things we've talked about, which of these stories do you think will have the biggest, most lasting impact on our world? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us.